to my channel. My name is Michelle Mills. I am a health coach that helps people heal eczema naturally. I've been doing this since 2017 when I healed my own severe eczema. I have started coaching people through the eczema healing journey for the past 3 or 4 years now. And now in this video, I'm going to be telling you guys basically how to heal your eczema naturally and the steps that I am personally taking to heal some moderate eczema that I have behind my knee. So I think the most important thing to do on this eczema journey is figure out what it is that's causing these flares. And so the best way to do that is to keep an eczema journal where every time you're reacting to something, you're writing it down. And so that way you have a clear cause and effect for why exactly your eczema is flaring. So for example, at first I actually thought this might be hydrogen sulfide SIBO that's causing my eczema. I was reacting really bad to certain foods like broccoli, garlic, onions, and so I believe that this started from an overgrowth of hydrogen sulfide SIBO. I personally have a gut imbalance that I've been working through for the last 3 or 4 years now, and a lot of it's due to antibiotics I've used in the past and a whole other slew of issues even when it comes to what I was eating. If you live in America and you're not eating organic, there is a chance that you might be consuming something called glyphosate, which is essentially an herbicide that's used on GMO crops, genetically modified crops. And glyphosate is horrible for the body. It does so many different things, causes leaky gut, can lead to cancer. There's a lot of studies out there that talk about the effects of glyphosate and the health of your body. And so there's a whole lot of reasons why I ended up with an imbalanced gut. I honestly think I was born with an imbalance in my gut as well. I say that it's imbalanced because I think I dealt with the hydrogen sulfide SIBO, lowered that amount, and I think in return I ended up with candida. So I now have a candida flare on the back of my knee. It looks like this, and it essentially is healing from the inside out, which is completely normal. And during the healing process, it should get dry and flaky. That's just kind of what eczema does. There's a lot of things that I do in my lifestyle that have to do with healing this naturally, and we're gonna go through a lot of them because I don't think I even sometimes realize how much I do to make sure I don't have eczema. So one of the first things that I make sure that I do is I keep clothing off of that area. So I'm not wearing pants, not wearing jeans. It sounds like a nightmare to wear jeans when I have eczema like this. There's something called the itch-scratch cycle, which essentially means that we develop an addiction to scratching our eczema because it feels so good. There's something really odd about the itch-scratch cycle that causes like a neurological addiction, and it actually feels quite good to scratch your eczema. Well, I'm trying to prevent the itch-scratch cycle as much as humanly possible, meaning I do not scratch my eczema. I have not scratched this flare and I've had it for I think about 4 months now. I do a lot of things, so I do not start the itch scratch cycle. The first is keeping clothing on it. The second is I do not take hot showers. The heat will actually trigger the itch scratch cycle. I make sure that I never ever scratch it. Like, I'm really careful not even to scratch it on like items around my house. Like, nothing is touching this skin. The fourth thing I do when it comes to preventing the itch scratch cycle is right before I lay in bed, I mentally rewire my brain so that I do not scratch my eczema. And I know that sounds weird, but one of the things that you can do is actually visualize yourself not scratching your skin. And I actually say to myself no over and over and over, and I visualize keeping my hands away from my eczema. So keeping my hands to myself, keeping, everything just the way it's supposed to be. And I feel like if I do that right before I go to bed, I almost have tabs on myself before I go to sleep. And I have in the back of my unconscious mind while I'm sleeping the rules for sleep and eczema. I actually have a piece of eczema on my thigh, and so I try to put like a sheet in between my 2 thighs because the friction and the sweat that could come from those 2 thighs touching could end up making my eczema worse. Another thing that I do not do is I do not moisturize it. Candida-induced eczema is a wet eczema, meaning that it does not want to be moisturized. It actually hates it. it will make things worse. So I have not moisturized this eczema at all for the last 4 months that I have had this flare. If I put something on my eczema that my eczema doesn't like, that could trigger the itch scratch cycle, and I don't have time for that. Just to keep in mind, if this is the first video about eczema you've ever watched, this is probably the most like condensed video of all the information of all the things that I do to make sure I treat and prevent my eczema. So when I'm showering, I do not shower in hot water. I do not bathe in hot water because extreme temperatures can trigger the itch scratch cycle. Another thing I do is I only use a very specific type of soap. The soap that I'm using is Sincerely Roots lavender soap. It's very, very, very mild. It works with my skin, and so what I do is I take the soap, I go like this, I get some suds on my hands, and I'll just very lightly like put the suds on my eczema and let it wash off. So that's the extent of how I wash my eczema specifically. Another thing I do is I soak in a bath with Dead Sea salt. I'll do about 2 cups of Dead Sea salt to a full bath. I let that cool down enough so that it won't trigger my eczema in any way, and usually the next day my eczema looks a lot better because wet eczema does really, really, really well with Dead Sea salt baths. So candida-induced eczema does really, really well with that. Another thing we need to consider is food, and food is a huge thing, especially if you're dealing with candida-induced eczema. So just to give you a background on what candida is, it's a yeast overgrowth that occurs in the gut, and candida to some extent is okay. There's usually small amounts of candida in every single person's gut. It's just we have a lack of good bacteria that's killing off and keeping, I would say, maintaining the right level of candida in our gut. A lot of times because of stress is huge, usually for people with this type of eczema. Stress can cause an overgrowth, antibiotics can cause an overgrowth, oral contraception actually can cause overgrowth, because it's really interesting with candida-induced eczema, your hormonal cycles can actually change your flora, so your like gut microbiome and all of that. So when you get off of oral contraception or whatever, if your hormones change dramatically, usually you end up with candida-induced eczema. Super fun. I recommend getting on a good probiotic. Here's a really good one, and I'll link that in the description down below as well. Probiotics are really good to take every single day. Vitamin D is really good to take every single day. But 2 things that I do that heal my skin so well is I use the multi-type collagen by Ancient Nutrition. I use it every single day. I do a whole scoop every day, and I usually make dessert with it. I usually mix it with carob powder and maca powder, a little bit of plant-based milk, mix it together, and then I add Coconut Bliss vanilla ice cream on there. That's delicious. But the other thing that I do that heals my skin faster than anything is the Gut Healing Super Soup, which essentially is a bone broth based soup. I usually add cabbage, beets. I used to put garlic powder in that, but I can't tolerate garlic very much right now. And sometimes I put mussels in it, sometimes I put carrots in it. The one that I use is Bonafide, and that's the base of my soup. And so I'll add in different things. So basically whatever your body can tolerate, that's what you add to the Gut Healing Super Soup. I'll also put a recipe in the description box down below for that. If I did nothing else and I did that, I think my eczema would still heal. Today it's looking a heck of a lot better. We have dry, flaky, the skin's actually healing. Usually if you have candida-induced eczema, your skin will be spreading, like the eczema will be spreading pretty quickly, and that's a little bit scary. I don't love that. When I'm not really doing that great with my gut and my stress is high, I'll have allergies as well, I'll have dandruff, and I'll also get urticaria, not sure how to pronounce that, urticaria. And this basically is like hives. It's like contact dermatitis, allergic dermatitis. And when I get out of the shower, I'm super itchy. I have like hives all over me. Your lifestyle doesn't need to be low stress. You just need to know how to manage your stress and how to release it and let go of it and figure out that whole mental situation of healing your body. That was a whole rant just to say all of the different things that I'm doing to heal my current flare. So I hope this video helps you guys. If you have questions, you should go over to my Instagram account because I'm really, really active on Instagram, a little less active on YouTube these days. I have a full-time job at the moment, and making videos is kind of time consuming. So you can follow me over there, you can DM me. I let you guys ask me questions, do a little Q&A over on Instagram. So I will see you guys over there, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye!
I like crashing waves.